Indian rap.
Here's something new every day.
Yeah.
I like it.
Music, right? Good day, golfers! Welcome to the Golf Institute radio show. I'm your host, Kelly Brook. I'm here with my co-hosts, Justin Koff, Megan Youngman, Jeff Poplarski, and Woody Lashin. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everybody.
We are brought to you today by Spine Care Technologies, the maker of Extend Track. But we would like to talk about power today. That's my favorite subject ever to talk about. I
Ever.
could talk about it all day long, all night long. I think what we need to do first to begin is we need to dispel some of the myths out there about power. People think that by swinging harder, you're going to get power, but
Right.
that's really the opposite, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, especially because so many people try to get power by swinging from the top of their swing with their arms and their hands and trying to generate the power with the club itself instead of everything that we teach every day, which is ground up.
Ground up. It's called ground force,
Yep.
right? So maybe we should explain to the audience exactly where power comes from. So power comes really from what we call sequencing. It comes from starting with the ground, using the energy in the ground and passing it from body part to body part to body part. So what I mean by that is this. You see on TV, you see Ricky Fowler, some of these, even McElroy, these guys who are seemingly a little on the smaller side on the PGA Tour are still generating, over 300 yards in distance. And the way they're doing that is they're using the ground to their advantage. They're generating power in this sequence. The sequence starts with a nice disassociation in the backswing. And what I mean by that is your shoulders turn back twice as much as your hips, leaving a separation between the two. And then what happens is your feet grab the ground and you start the downswing with your lower body. So the sequencing is that the hips go first, the lead knee, which is probably, if you're a right-hander, your left knee initiates the downswing. Your hips come through first. That's called step one or sequence one. Then it sequences to two, which is your chest, and then your arms, and then the club head, and then your hands, and then the club head. And what's happening is your body parts are actually what people don't realize is they're speeding up, and then they actually hit kind of a wall, and they slow down. So if you look at a chart, a graph, there's like this like huge spike in the graph, and then it drops down. And what I mean by that is you can make this analogy. Imagine if I were going to whip you guys with a whip. My body parts wouldn't all be moving at the same time and continuously move. What would happen would be I would stand on my rear foot. I would move forward. My hips then would stop moving. I would transfer that energy from my hips to my chest. My chest would kind of move at you with the whip in my hand, stop. My chest then would pass the energy to my right arm, because I'm right-handed. It would pass it to my elbow. My elbow would move towards you and stop. My elbow then would pass the energy to my wrist. My wrist would move towards you, stop. And then the whip would take all of that stored energy and it would whip you with the whip. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Kelly, that's a great description there. Well done with that. But the way I describe this is like a rocket ship.
Yep.
The stages of the rocket ship go from one stage to another stage. If one stage doesn't work effectively, the rocket ship's probably going to blow up. But you hit it right on the head. You have to decelerate segments. The next segment then will accelerate. And that's what you're looking for. As you know, the pelvis goes about 400 degrees per second. Then the mid-back goes to about 700, shoulder goes to about 1100, and then the lead wrist goes to about 2000 degrees per second. And that's decelerating. The next segment goes a little bit faster.
Another analogy that comes to mind, Jeff, is in TPI training. When we do our TPI training, they explain about if you're racing, you're running a race. Explain that analogy where you're running a race and you grab the guy in front of you and then you pull on him and that you use that to accelerate.
Exactly. So again, that's the deceleration. It's almost like you're running and you're grabbing the person in front of you, the shoulder, and you're creating like a whip. You're pushing on that person's shoulder, and then that accelerates you past the runner.
Yep.
And that's a great philosophy, and that's the kinematic sequence in a nutshell.
We use the kinematic sequence a lot with our K-Vest. This isn't a commercial for K-Vest, although I should call them and see if they'll sponsor the show.
Great ideas. Great ideas come at different times, right?
But we strap the sensors onto our students' bodies, and we can see exactly in space during the swing, where their body parts are, how fast they're accelerating, how fast they're decelerating, and as a result, then we can, modify it. And then, of course, though, we have to talk to you, Jeff, at times about the fact that, not everybody is capable of doing that because of different issues within their body.
Yeah, sure. It starts with the pelvis. We always say the pelvis is the transmission of the golf swing. If that doesn't work appropriately from the beginning, you're going to have problems with the sequencing. And the pelvis, a lot of people are frozen in the pelvis. It doesn't move. Like sitting is the new cigarette smoking, we say. That prolonged sitting and maybe being a little obese locks the pelvis, and now you're missing one part of the rocket ship, and it's going to throw off your whole entire swing. You might become an upper body dominant swinger. Mm-hmm. I've always said this, for the viewers. Now we're talking injury prevention. That's the angle I'm always coming from. Most upper body injuries occur from lower body dysfunction. The lower body can't move too well. You start catching up with the upper body. You start getting the tennis elbow, the wrist problems, the shoulder problems. So this kinematic sequencing, which we use at Bethpage, is a great device for technology to see where these weaknesses are. Now, I hone that with the fitness program.
And can you, yesterday I was giving a lesson to a gentleman probably in his 60s, I would say, and we were having such a hard time getting him to understand the concept of the hips leading the downswing. So I put on a strap. Dr. Jeff had sent us all a video last week of Vijay Singh. We wrapped a strap around his arm and then around his waist, and his trainer was holding it, and he was working on firing the hips. And let me tell you, it was absolutely amazing. I did that for 30 seconds with this gentleman, and all of a sudden it clicked that the hips needed to move, and he could feel it. Are there any other exercises, Jeff, that you can think of or explain to the audience to help with that sequencing?
Yeah, sure. One motto we use is train fast, be fast. Train slow, be slow. So some of these exercises, like that Vijay Singh exercise, as you could see, he was going at that 100%, trying to get as much rotation as possible. But go back to the transmission. There is pelvic tilting, which is basically just pronouncing your buttocks and flattening your buttocks. There's pelvic rotation, which is just showing your right pocket and the left pocket. Those would be two great exercises to do to start to get the pelvis moving. The first part of the sequence, the transmission. If the transmission doesn't work, the car's not going to go.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to announce that today we launched our website and our app called thegolfinstitute.com, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of videos from 70 award-winning coaches, physical fitness experts, mental coaches. And on that site, you can get 240 free videos, but you can also subscribe. But Justin and I did a great video, in my opinion, it's a great video, on ground force. Justin, can you explain a little bit about what we talked about in that video?
Yeah, I think when we did that video, it was definitely a lot of fun, and we did it at the black course, and obviously that's a course where you need a lot of speed and power, right? I mean, all those holes are 450, 500 yards. And exactly what we're talking about today. We talked about using the ground, kind of starting from our feet, working with our legs and being able to actually get the knees to separate as we make the downswing. When the knees are separating, that's creating pressure down into the ground. And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that there is some lowering and rising up in the golf swing, and that's actually how we create power with the ground, is we're going to go down into it, and then we're going to push off of it and explode. And that was exactly what we covered in that video, and so I would highly encourage you guys to check that out.
Great. Now, we have a problem with the phone lines today. They're down, but we told some of our friends and family that they were down ahead of the show, and so they are texting us. So if you have our personal numbers, feel free to text us any questions that you have. When we get back, we're going to speak to Woody Lashin about equipment and what best equipment as far as shafts, shaft flexes, what's going to get you the most distance that you can get. So let's take a little break and we will be right back.
Spine Care Technologies is an amazingly innovative medical device company. Their flagship product, the Extend Track Elite, is world-renowned among pain management centers, sports medicine experts, physical therapists, and chiropractors. Spine Care Technologies is dedicated to improving sports performance by relieving acute, chronic back pain and its disabling effects. The Extend Track Elite is FDA cleared, non-surgical, drug-free, and has been praised by health professionals around the world for its excellent clinical results in treating low back pain. Learn more at spinecaretechnologies.com.
The all-new Hyperflex from Footjoy is tuned for golf, with every detail designed and developed with the golfer in mind. Starting at the top, it looks awesome. The fresh material on the upper provides a great fit that forms to your foot and is fully waterproof. Next, the all-new Rapid Fit system ensures a dialed-in, precision fit, wrapping your foot in complete security. It offers incredible comfort with the new Stratofoam midsole, coupled with the OptiFlex outsole so that the shoe and the foot move in unison, whether walking or swinging. Available now in laced and the new Rapid Fit system. Shop now at footjoy.com.
Hey, have you guys seen the new TaylorMade driver? Introducing the TaylorMade Sim 2. Built differently around a forged aluminum ring that shifts weight in new ways. They made it so long and forgiving, golfers can't wait for their next chance to tee off. Sim 2 gives every golfer the confidence to swing away every time they step up to the tee. Only from TaylorMade.
Welcome back to the show. So remember, our phone lines are down, but people are texting us questions. I think, Megan, you have a question about club fitting that goes along with what Woody's going to discuss.
I do. Coming in from Colleen Roberts. Hey, Colleen. Thank you very much for texting me this question. Colleen and I have worked together in the past, and now that she's getting better and creating more speed, she had a question about her driver loft. And going back, kind of tying into where we left off, when we started to talk about the subject of power, we talked about how so many players hit from the top of the swing, and then the club leads, and then the hands go, and then the rest of the body down to the ground. Well, along with that comes the angle that the driver is coming into the ball. Mm-hmm. So this directly affects your driver loft. So if you're hitting and you're hitting from the top of your swing, the driver is coming into the ball too steep and in a de-lofted position. You know, we talked about the power that Rory McIlroy gives off the tee, and if you saw the guy, you'd never think that he could hit it that far just by walking next to him. But he generates that power because he's hitting his drives with a positive upswing to the ball. And that is the angle that the driver's coming into the ball. So it adds a little bit of loft onto his driver, and that affects his spin rate. Tell me if I'm wrong, Woody, but
No, you're 100%.
Can you speak to that?
You're 100% correct. The first thing is that you talk about loft. As a club fitter, I'm looking for the dynamic loft at impact. So you could have a driver that's 6 degrees or a driver that's 14 degrees, depending upon how you present an impact. They both could be presenting 17 degrees of dynamic loft at impact. There's no magical number for loft. So Justin could be using a 6-degree driver, and Megan could be using a 13-degree driver, and Megan can be much more efficient, even though she's got a lot more loft. So it's very dependent on how much loft you deliver at impact. You talk about your angle of attack. The one I like to use all the time is Bubba Watson. So Bubba Watson, he hits down 7 degrees on his normal drive. Okay. When he does that, his ball speed's about on 180, 230 miles an hour, and he carries at 280. He's able actually to switch his swing around to hit 7 degrees up on his driver. And with the same ball speed, his launch conditions now change. He's able to carry it 40 yards further, so 320. So his speed and his power is the same, but his launch conditions are different. Now, the reason why he doesn't do that on a regular basis is he can't control it. So as a player, you have to figure out what does your swing allow you to control, and then my job is to come along and say, okay, well, this is what Megan's doing. She needs more loft, she needs less loft, and then we get into the whole shaft thing. One of the things that Kelly and I were talking about earlier today was, what's more important, the shaft or the head? And there is not a good answer because every player has different problems. Just like when I go to Jeff and I've got a problem with my back, well, it could be my legs, it could be my core, it could be a lot of things. Every golfer is going to have different reasons why they would need a different product. So, for example, if Kelly is spinning it way too much, he's going to need a driver that's going to spin it less. But if Justin's not spinning enough, he needs something that's going to spin it more. Then maybe Megan's using the wrong profile in her shaft, so the shaft is not loading and unloading in the proper sequence to give her the maximum consistency and maximum power that she can generate. So every golfer is different as you go down the line.
I think too a big myth is that I think back a long time ago it was if you had a slow swing speed, we give you a driver that has a lot of loft. Now we see it all over the place. I mean, Rory, if I'm right, has a 9.5-degree driver, and we have to think that the tour players, when they play on those courses, it's a lot harder. It's meaning the surface is a lot harder in the fairways. So they're going to launch it, and they're going to get a lot of roll, and they're going to maximize that that rollout with their yardage. So if that can tie in a little bit, can you speak to that a little bit about the swing speeds and the lofts?
Yeah, I mean, swing speed and loft have nothing to do with each other. So you can have that. I completely hate when someone comes and says, "Oh, I've got a lower speed. I've got to have more loft." It's not the case. If that person's hitting up on a lot and creating a lot of dynamic loft, they need a lot less loft. One of the examples I love to use is some of these high speed players using a lot more loft in their fairway wood, and you'd say, well, I don't want a 17-degree 3-wood. I want a 14.5-degree 3-wood. Well, the 17-degree 3-wood for that player is going to go a lot further because it will launch it up in the air and it won't spin. It won't spin too much. Now, if you've got a big spin problem, you've got to launch it a lot lower. Again, it's all dynamics based on the individual player, what the individual player needs. And there's so many tools we have in our toolkit today to adjust depending on what the player is doing, what the player isn't doing. And again, the whole thing I love about this show is that we've got all these different angles where we can look at it, right? And we can say, wait a minute, you want to get more distance with your driver, but you got to go see Megan because I can't fix this right now. Or then you have to say, well, you have to go see Jeff, or you have to go see Justin. The whole concept of trying to help you with the right area that you need. Maybe it's all me. Maybe it's all club fitting. Maybe it's not me at all.
Well, I'm finding even as a golf pro right now, sitting here and a coach and an instructor and someone who knows very basics about club fitting, this to be so confusing because where do you start? So, I was at your place yesterday, Woody at Pete's Golf, because I needed my clubs tweaked because I've got the U.S. Open qualifier coming up, and I'm watching a gentleman in the booth, and he's getting fitted for clubs, and in my mind I'm thinking this is way too early for this guy to be fitted for clubs because he needs a little help with his swing first, get something consistent going, then get fitted. But I don't know. I mean, what's the answer? What do you get fitted first and then you get fitted again after you change your swing? I don't know what the right answer is.
So there isn't a good answer. One of the things that we do as a club fitter is, can someone, if you come in and say, I'm going to work on it, I'm going to get better. Let's assume we have that client. Can they get better with the equipment they have? Can they make those swing changes with the equipment they have, or can they not? Mm-hmm. So let's say, for example, Kelly, she's a great player. She's having a problem with her wedges. We looked at her wedges are so much heavier than everything else in her bag. Of course, you can get the job done with it, but you that's because you're using 100% talent. We change that, rebalance it, and then have you go play with them for a while, and then the feedback that you give me is we're going to say, okay, now we can change that. Well, we're doing the same thing for the 25 handicap. Can they get, is the golf club too heavy? Is it too light? Will they ever be able to make it work properly? If they can, great. Stop, go take those lessons, and then come back and see me. If you can't, we've got to change the clubs so that you can apply those lessons and get you to swing the golf club the way you want to swing the golf club. Sometimes you get someone who comes in, I don't want to take lessons, I don't want to do any stuff. Well, then my job then is to help them as best I can with the equipment for what they do. Similar when you get someone comes to you and you go, oh, look at this equipment, it's horrible. But the person, I don't want to buy new equipment. I just, okay, well, you're still going to do the best that you can. We always prefer the latter, right? We always prefer the person that says, yes, I want to get better. I'm going to take lessons. I'm going to work on my body. But there's never a best answer because it's totally based on the individual.
Well, okay, after our first show, my dad texted me, he texted me with a negative. He said, it sounds like this is very expensive, what you guys are saying, to have this big team, and it's really not that expensive. I think the best approach for, let's say, a beginner is this. Let's say we take a woman, Megan, your student, who's just starting out. She shouldn't have her husband, okay. The other day I walked into the pro shop, we were re-gripping wooden woods. I was like, are you kidding me? That grip costs more than that wood does. But, okay, so going back to my story, let's say you're a female and you're just beginning. You don't have to go out and break the bank, right? You could start with a clinic, a little clinic with ladies or men and women, and pay $30 an hour and start with a clinic. You could go to Pete's, you could go online, you could go to PJ Superstore, and you could buy a starter set. But that starter set can't be a heavy set of men's steel irons. It's got to be, within reason, lightweight and fitted towards you. If you're a 6 foot tall woman, you should probably get a senior set of graphite, possibly just to start, right? Then take a clinic, get into it, see if you like it, and then go to Pete's Golf or go somewhere and then have your clubs tweaked and have them fit to you. I mean, again, yesterday, Woody said, your clubs are a disaster. These lofts are off, your lie's off. I don't even know how you're playing the golf you're playing. And I said, that's why I'm here, because everything was just needed a little tweaking. Then, when you're ready, then you progress, and you're like, oh, I love golf. Now you get into, more expensive private lessons, and then you graduate to a little more expensive set of clubs, and then you say, well, I feel like there's something inhibiting my turn, and now you add Jeff in. But you can do this all very affordably. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm going to say is that you've got all the five of us, right?
Yeah.
You go to one of us, and they're going to say, no, wait, don't see me. Go see Jeff. Go see Megan. And now your cost isn't going to be in all of us. It's going to be in that one because we've identified that as the area in which you need to work on to get better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in life, stuff's expensive, but you want to spend your money wisely. Mm-hmm. From my equipment end, if I do my job right, you shouldn't be buying new equipment every couple of years. It should last a long time. The manufacturers don't want to hear that. They want to sell you a new driver every year, but I don't want to do that. I want to give you something that's going to last a long time.
Yeah.
If I come to you for a lesson, Kelly, I don't want a quick fix that will help me hit the ball better today, but 3 weeks later, I'll be hitting it worse. I want something that's going to help me long term.
Yeah.
And so I get value for my lesson. It's long term.
I agree.
You know what it comes down to is that you have to have at least the right clubs for you at the time. I had a gal in the clinic this week, and she comes out and they all have their clubs, and some of them have new sets of clubs, and they're newer golfers. And she puts her clubs down, and I said, oh, tell me about your equipment. And she said, well, my husband put this together for me for my lesson. And okay, that's fine, and that's fine for today. But I had a set out there just in case somebody didn't bring some clubs. And it was a lady set, graphite light shafts. And I had them all hitting with their 8 irons. And we were learning some things. And she right away said, I think I need to use your clubs. And they were so heavy for her. And that affects how much you like the game. It affects how well you're doing. I mean, we all want to hit it up in the air higher. We want to hit it farther. And that progresses through all of our players, all the way through competitive players. So you have to have at least something for you for the moment.
We have to take just a very quick commercial break, and then I think, Jeff, you have something more to say about that. We'll be right back.
If you suffer from low back pain, joint stiffness, or sciatica due to herniated disc or acute facet joint problems, you need to know about a spine therapy device called ExtendTrack Elite. Extend Track Elite incorporates multi-axis spinal positioning, traction, and joint and soft tissue mobilization. Your doctor or therapist can use Extend Track Elite to move your body into pain-relieving, therapeutic positions that keep your body relaxed as your spine is mobilized. Learn more about Extend Track Elite at spinecaretechnologies.com.
Ever hit that one perfect iron shot and think, well, that's the one shot that will keep me coming back? Well, why does it have to be one shot? Why can't it be 5, 10, or even 50 shots that keep you coming back? That was TaylorMade's inspiration when they designed the all-new TaylorMade Sim 2 irons. Their unique cap-back design is engineered for more forgiveness, more distance, more often. Feel what it's like to play with better irons with the all-new Sim 2s from TaylorMade.
Footjoy sets the standard for golf shoe performance and style in 2021 with the all-new Premier Series, inspired by golf shoes of the past, but supercharged for today's game. Designed in collaboration with the world's best players like Justin Thomas, Adam Scott, and Max Homa, the Premier Series features classic styling with premium waterproof leathers and great details that exude craftsmanship. That is complemented by state-of-the-art comfort and performance features like the Versatrax Plus outsole. Learn more about the Premier Series at footjoy.com.
The original Andy G chipping and putty line is a great way to improve your chipping skills and save strokes on the green. The chipping line can improve your distance control up to 90 yards. The objective of the chipping line is to hit a variety of chip shots on or near the chosen color. It will improve your rhythm, tempo, and consistency. Check them out at madskillsgolfcompany.com.
Welcome back. Jeff, I think you have something you'd like to say as a follow-up.
Yeah, sure. You know, most amateurs have improperly fitted drivers, as you probably know. I think the days of just guessing and checking for fitting of clubs might not be the best thing to do. I'd love to see evidence-based fitting protocols. I did see a statistic where 5%, it was 1,250 golfers, 5% of them were using the proper driver, 95% were not. But I'll always go back to the best piece of equipment in your bag is your body. You know, I'm always going to reflect back to that. So just some thoughts.
Great. Justin, anything from you on this?
In terms of club fitting, in terms of drivers, I think we've covered a lot of it, and I think the idea for everybody is really to make sure that you have the best equipment for yourself at the time that you're playing, right? Beginners are going to have different equipment from advanced players, and as you continue to improve, you want to make sure that you're constantly checking and tweaking your equipment. And that goes back to the idea with you, Kelly, who's a world-class player and had wedges in her bag that she didn't even know were not working most efficiently. And I think what we heard today is all about optimization of your body, optimization of your swing, and your equipment. So making sure that you kind of see all your local professionals, a team like us, will help you, will get you to the right person, and will make sure that you're advancing in your game.
Wonderful. All right, next week I think we are going to be, at our new studio at Bethpage Golf Course. Hopefully, Woody, you're going to be there with us. We also have Anthony Scortia's show coming over, and he's going to join us the half hour before. We are so excited, so if you are playing next week at Bethpage, come out. We're going to be right in that pro shop in our new studio. All right. Wow, that went fast once again. We got to get out of here.
Always. We got to get back to Bethpage.
Woody brought my wedges. I've got to get to Bethpage and go practice those wedges, see what the difference is.
You can hit that hybrid too.
That hybrid. Well, that was another thing. Just on a side note, I kept saying to Woody, I tend to hook my hybrids and I get too much roll. But now what's happening to me subconsciously is I'm pushing everything 15 yards right because my brain is making these adjustments. And that's exactly what happens when you have the wrong equipment. So Woody got me a hybrid for my U.S. Open qualifier next week, and hopefully I'm going to thank Woody if I win it and I qualify. All right, I'd like to thank you again. I'd like to thank our title sponsor for their support and also for decompressing the vertebrae in my back each week. I love it. Spine Care Technologies, they make Extend Track. You know how much I love them. My hip turn is so much faster with them. I don't know what I'd do without them. Thanks for joining us on WBWD 540 AM, and we will see you next. You will listen to us next week. Talk to you then. Play well.